Technical writers value the importance of high quality content, but ChatGPT is good at making sense of messy content. So does writing high quality content still matter? ChatGPT and similar chatbots find their answers from what's called a large language model, and these large language models have been trained on billions of data sets, and they've been specifically trained to deal with language issues like summarizing information, providing answers to questions, translation, and essentially pattern matching. What you can do is you can create a chatbot that uses your own knowledge base, your own source content, instead of finding the answer from this big large language model. There's a technique we've covered in a previous video called retrieval augmented generation. So in that situation, you're taking your content and putting it into a big bucket that the chatbot uses to find the answers to people's questions. So should we just give the chatbots and the large language models just a puddle of mud and let it make sense of the mess? Well, to answer that question, I'm going to use a Kiwi phrase, and that is, yeah, nah. There are reasons why you could, but more reasons why you probably shouldn't. So let me show you first off how good ChatGPT can be at making sense of mess. So there's been some examples posted to social media of people uploading slides, infamous slides from the American Department of Defense, from the Afghanistan campaign, and ask them to explain it. And it can do a good job at explaining those terribly complicated slides. And also signs from parking in America, and asking it, can I park at this time? And it providing the answer, making sense of those. But what we've found from our experimenting in creating chatbots that create a personalized experience for each user and creating chatbots that only use content from a company's knowledge base and from other controlled sources is that the quality of the source matter does seem to have an impact on the quality of the responses provided by the chatbot. So one of the things that you can do if you create your own repository is have it find the answers to people's questions from transcripts of YouTube videos or videos that you've done internally. And one thing we found is there seems to be a difference in the quality of response between those situations where it's drawing the information from YouTube videos that have chapters and YouTube videos that don't. And it seems that having chapters in your videos on YouTube, if you're bringing those into that knowledge base, that makes a difference in the quality of the output. Another thing that we found is where we are creating personalized chatbots, where you are telling the chatbot that a person is using a Mac or is a beginner, that the chatbot only responds in providing personalized information specific to Mac users if that type of information is clearly expressed and explained within the knowledge base that you've created. So if your help file or your knowledge center doesn't really provide any information that's specific to Macs compared to Windows, then you're not going to get an answer that's specific to Mac users. You'll probably get a generic answer that's true for both Mac and Windows. So if you want to start personalizing your information to different types of users, their ability, whether they're on the Pro or the Lite version, whether they're Mac or whether they're Windows, then you need to write that into the content you create that's being used by the chatbot in that repository when it provides the answers for your users. And if you dive into the documentation from Google and from OpenAI on what makes good content for a large language model to ingest, they recommend basically good technical writing practice of having headings and self-contained topics and using numbered lists and tables to help create consistent structure within that source content. That helps the large language model embed and vectorize the information in a way that means it can provide the answers of the best quality. So while large language models and chatbots can make sense of messy content, you'll get better results if you have good quality source content. And that will matter in the future, because in the future what your organisation will probably do is want to offer personalised learning paths for each user via a chatbot, personalised support for each user to help them solve their problems, and personalised knowledge centres and help content to help them navigate. And so the better the content is written, the more structured it is, the more you can differentiate between different types of users, the easier that migration to that personalised experience for users will be. So that's why we think having good quality source content matters. And if you're interested in using generative AI in technical communications, then you might be interested in our e-learning course on that subject.